Hello students, welcome to Notebook. You must be aware that India attained independence on 15th of August 1947. However, you might not be aware of the challenges the nation faced to ensure national unity and territorial integrity. With independence, the pains of partition followed. Along with migration and displacement, India witnessed extreme violence which threatened the idea of a secular nation. The inclusion of the princely states into the Indian Union also posed its own problems. The internal boundaries of these states within India were revisited to meet the demands of the people who spoke different languages. In this video lesson and its subsequent parts, we will analyze these challenges to nation building. Let us begin. Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of independent India, addressed a special session of the Constituent Assembly at midnight on 15th of August 1947. This is known as the Tryst with Destiny speech. Though there were a multitude of voices that shaped the national movement, there were two primary objectives that all agreed upon. One, that independent India would have a democratic form of government, and two, that the government would focus on welfare, particularly the welfare of poor and socially disadvantaged groups. However, as simple as these objectives may sound, it was not easy to achieve them. Independent India arose out of extremely difficult conditions, and this added to the multiple challenges faced by the nation. The year 1947, in addition to independence and partition, witnessed the trauma of displacement and unprecedented violence. And thus, India began its journey to ensure national integrity amid the chaos that ensued. Classified broadly, Indian ideals of nation building faced three challenges. We'll now discuss them. The first challenge was to build a united nation that was inclusive of the existing diversity. Geographically speaking, India had the size and diversity of a continent. The people of the land spoke different languages, followed different religions, and practiced different cultures. People were skeptical of national unity in the face of such diversity. Partition and the violence that followed seemed to realize people's worst fears. People wondered if India would assert national unity at the very cost of all other objectives and aims. Would national unity result in the rejection of all regional and subnational identities? How would India achieve territorial integration? These were some of the questions that plagued the people. The second challenge India faced was to establish a democracy. India adopted a representative democracy founded on the principles of a parliamentary form of government. The Indian Constitution vested every Indian citizen with the right to vote. While a democratic constitution is fundamental, it is not enough to establish a democracy. The challenge here was to develop democratic practices aligned with constitutional pronouncements. The third principal challenge India faced was to ensure development and well-being for the entire society. Here too, the constitution spelt out the principle of equality. In paper at least, it tried to protect socially disadvantaged groups and religious and cultural minorities. The Indian Constitution also laid down the welfare goals of democratic politics in the directive principles of state policy. It was essential to evolve policies to achieve economic development and eradicate poverty. In this chapter, we'll look at the events that led to in the context of independence. India molded itself into a nation united by a shared history and common objectives. On 14th to 15th of August, two nation states came into existence, India and Pakistan. The culmination of political events led to British India being divided into three parts: East Pakistan and West Pakistan, divided by the large expanse of Indian territory. The Muslim League forwarded the two-nation theory, insisting that India was comprised not of one people but two, Hindus and Muslims. This demand for a separate nation for Muslims was opposed by the Indian National Congress. However, owing to the developments of the 1940s, political rivalry between the INC and the Muslim League, as well as British involvement, led to the division of India. This division was not only painful but also difficult to execute. The principle of religious majorities was followed. Regions with Muslim majority would fall under the territory of Pakistan and the rest would fall under the purview of India. Nonetheless, there were several problems that arose. Firstly, there was no single or uniform belt of Muslim majority in British India. However, there were two areas of heavy concentration of Muslim population in the east and west. Thus, it was decided that Pakistan would consist of two territories, East and West Pakistan. Secondly, not every Muslim majority area wanted to be a part of Pakistan. Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan of the Northwestern Frontier Province strongly opposed the two-nation theory. Nonetheless, his pleas were ignored and the NWFP was made to join Pakistan. Two provinces of British India, Punjab and Bengal, hosted large expanses of area where non-Muslims formed the majority. Thus, it was decided that the two provinces would be divided according to the religious majority at the district or lower level. This decision was not made by the eve of independence. Thus, the third problem the nations faced was that a large number of people did not know on the day of independence whether they belonged to India or Pakistan. The partition of these two provinces caused irreparable trauma and pain. The fourth challenge or problem faced by the nations was the issue of minorities on both sides of the border. Lakhs of Hindus and Sikhs resided in areas that now belonged to Pakistan. Similarly, many Muslims found themselves a part of Indian Punjab, Bengal, and even Delhi. The land of their ancestors suddenly wasn't their home anymore. Minorities in both nations became easy targets of violence. None had expected this problem, and therefore no one had a definite solution to it. The violence could not be contained, and minorities on both sides had to flee their homeland, often at a couple of hours of notice. Poets and writers like Sadat Hasan Manto, Amrita Pritam, Faiz Ahmed Faiz, and Kaifi Azmi tried to articulate the sorrow and hardships faced by the people during partition in their writings. Lajwanti by Rajinder Singh Bedi and Toba Tek Singh by Manto remain some of the greatest stories to have evolved out of the pain of partition. That is all for this lesson, students. In the second part of this video lesson, we'll discuss the consequences of partition and the integration of princely states. Team Notebook bids you a warm goodbye. See you soon.